The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew.
Glory to the Lord.
Jesus said to his apostles, "Whoever loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me, and whoever loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. And whoever does not take up his cross and follow after me is not worthy of me. Whoever finds his life will lose it, and whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. Whoever receives you receives me, and whoever receives me receives the one who sent me. Whoever receives a prophet because he is a prophet will receive a prophet's reward, and whoever receives a righteous man because he is a righteous man will receive a righteous man's reward. And whoever gives only a cup of cold water to one of these little ones to drink, because the little one is a disciple, amen, I say to you, he will surely not lose his reward." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
I was thinking it's too bad I wasn't here last weekend to preach, because the gospel talked about how God has counted the hairs of our head, and seeing Deacon Russ and the front pew here, God has an easier time with some of us. You know, it's one thing to follow Christ's call, but quite another to accept his mission. The evangelist knew the compelling nature of Jesus' call. At the start, a life of discipleship promises fulfillment, wisdom, and grace. The inspiration of these dreams of doing great things for God can sometimes obscure the hard work and the suffering that goes along with discipleship. In the gospel today, Jesus offers his disciples and us no such illusions. He promises actually hostility and rejection. Hostility to Jesus and his message had already begun. The debate over his ability to forgive sins had turned many of the Jewish leaders against him. And it's easy to imagine friends and family of the disciples begging them not to go. It's easy to imagine the disciples wondering what they had gotten themselves into. But Jesus' answer is clear. Whoever loves father or mother, son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. And whoever does not take up his cross and follow me is not worthy of me. These are strong, tough, and challenging words. There's a cost to discipleship. Sometimes we like to make Jesus only sweetness and roses, but he was also challenging and prophetic. Otherwise, they would have never crucified him. It's tempting for us preachers to ignore the challenging and prophetic part of Jesus' message because it makes us and our congregations uncomfortable. When I was ordained a priest friend of mine, several years my senior, gave me a Bible, and he wrote on the inside at the front of the Bible, "May you always comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable." And the gospel calls us to do both. That is why the United States bishops, including Cardinal Tobin, encourage us to ask questions about how do policies such as the reform of health care affect the poor and the elderly? Nowhere does Jesus promise us that if we follow him, life will be easy. In fact, he says the opposite. You must take up your cross daily and follow me. The 12 apostles must have sensed that now to continue their discipleship, they had to preach his difficult message. By making his words their own, they were making themselves targets for the hostility that had been directed at Jesus. Those whose goal was to sit at Christ's side in his kingdom, the kingdom of Israel, as they thought, must have been utterly bewildered. And discipleship today also requires the same self-denial. We need to speak Christ's words in our own voice, forsaking our ambitions, and follow his path. We may need to withdraw from clan and class and serve his poor. As Pope Francis puts it, the church must go out to the margins of society. People in power most often do not like hearing things like this. They are often more interested in enhancing their own power and status. Many of our politicians, it seems to me, respond more to special interest groups than to the majority of their constituents. The grace we seek is ours only when we give ourselves over completely to Christ's mission and remember the Matthew 25 judgment scene when God says to those who are to come into his heavenly kingdom, "What you do for these, the least of my brothers and sisters, you do for me."